I'm going to talk about the context and conflicts in the movie that my group picked, which was Spanglish. For context, the setting of the film actually changes every so often and then stays stagnant for a greater portion of the film. We start off in Mexico, where Christina and her mother Flora are from, and then we move to Los Angeles when they leave Mexico, into a wealthy area where the Klasky family lives. And then most of the film actually takes place at the Klasky's new summer house, where they live for the 3 months of the summer, which is what I took to be the main portion of the film. As noted second, the time frame of the movie is about 6 months. It's not exactly clear how long the movie is, but it can be assumed to be about half a year because it starts a little bit before the end of the school year, it seems, and then continues through 3 months of the summer when the Klaskys move to their summer home where Flora and Christina also stay with them, and continues a couple of weeks, possibly a month into the school year, but never actually gets to like holidays like Halloween or Thanksgiving or Christmas, so we can assume it's about 5 to 6 months. The culture of the film is clearly represented as American and Hispanic. It's a typical white American family is the Klasky household. Mother, father, 2 children, and Mrs. Klasky's mother just happens to live with them as well. And on the flip side is Flora and Christina's family, the Morenos, which are viewed as more of a traditional Mexican family. I say traditional because it's very clear from Flora's actions that she wants Christina to be connected to her roots from Mexico and not assimilate too far into the American lifestyle. The overall mood of the movie is clearly very passionate. Every single character in the movie has a passion for something. John Klasky has a passion for his cooking. Bernice has a passion for reading, doing well in school. Christina has a passion for fitting in. And Flora has a passion for a few different things. Mostly, I would say that her passion is taking care of her daughter and being a good role model for her daughter. But every character has something that they are clearly very passionate about, and that's why it just kind of sets the whole mood of the movie, because they do go through different emotions and different moods individually, but overall that would be the umbrella mood seen throughout the film. Context is important because the elements of the context work together to thread the small pieces of the story into one whole cohesive movie. They make the story interesting and keep the flow of the film moving at a steady pace. The little pieces that are the setting and the time and the culture and the mood, and probably much more, are what make the story not just chapters, not just scenes, but one whole movie. It makes it, putting them together in just the right way helps the movie make sense. Some of the conflicts that I saw in the movie, the 3 major ones, are definitely language, parenting, and forbidden love. Language is obvious. Flora cannot speak English at the beginning of the movie because she comes from Mexico and she was already an adult when she moved to the United States, and for a while lived in an area where she didn't need to learn English because it didn't matter for her job or where she lived, so she didn't bother. And it makes communication next to impossible when she gets her job at the Klasky household. She cannot properly communicate with Deborah or John or the kids or Evelyn. Nobody knows what she's saying, she doesn't understand what they're saying, and it just becomes a large issue for everyone involved. Parenting differences are also a very prominent conflict seen in the movie. Flora doesn't like that John and Deborah meddle with Christina, since that is her daughter and not theirs, but at the same time, she does similarly with Bernice. While John and Deborah are taking Christina out without her permission and giving her money, Flora is altering clothes of Bernice's without permission, even though Deb bought those sizes intentionally. It just creates a lot of tension between the parent characters, because they think that what they're doing is the correct way to parent, and that there is no other way to do it. Every single one of them thinks that they're right in raising their own child or children, and they don't like when it is interfered with by other people. And of course, the forbidden love between John and Fleur. There's clearly an attraction between them. You can see it even from the very beginning if you pay close enough attention. But, of course, it cannot be, because John is a married man, and it seems fairly obvious that Fleur also doesn't want to give Christina another male figure to call her father in her life, at least not at that point in time. It's something that the two characters internally struggle with for a lot of the film, and you can see it, even though it is not outwardly said until very close to the end of the movie. But it's clearly an internal interpersonal conflict that they are dealing with and are just trying to find a solution to. As for resolutions, Flora learns English, finally, with help from Christina, and she buys a bunch of videos to watch that teach her English. Sorry about that. And she also gets a little bit of help from the Klasky family by them sitting with her and watching the videos and helping her pronounce the words. Her English is not perfect by the end of the film, but it has solved the problem of the communication failure conflict, because now she can more properly communicate with the people that she works for and understands them better, and so there's not so much silence and struggling with knowing what is needed of her and what she needs from them. As for the second conflict that I mentioned about parenting, there really was no solution given for it. There was no real resolution for the differences in parenting. They have a lot of arguments, like the scene where Flora just flat out yells at John in the middle of the night because he gave Christina over $600. And other than that, and the argument that she has with Deborah earlier on about taking Christina out without her permission, there is no real solution. It's always a silent difference in opinion between all three of them, and it never is really resolved. I guess you could say that their resolution is to just be silent about it and not mention the fact that they disapprove of the other's parent styling, but at the same time, you can't really call it a resolution because nothing was solved. And finally, the solution to the attraction between John Klasky and Flora Moreno is that Flora quits working for the Klasky family. She most likely views it as that there will no longer be the temptation there for her, for the man that she loves being in the same household with her. And she probably feels that once she's gone, he'll be able to get over her as well and be with his wife and children. Some people might consider that that's not really a resolution either, and that didn't solve anything because there's still that inkling of love and passion for one another that they aren't following, and maybe they should be. But it solves the problem of them tearing two families apart potentially, and that might be all that she really wanted by quitting. So that's my presentation on conflicts and context in the movie Spanglish, and I hope that you liked it.